Now, this is a subject matter that I've never talked about before. I've never made a video, and this may be the only video that I make pertaining this subject matter. And we're talking about my wife. This is the first time seeing me. I was married for 25 years, and my wife passed away from alcohol use disorder about 5 years ago. And a lot of my page talks about that experience because my wife went to 7 rehabilitation facilities and detoxes. She was partook in many outpatient programs, court ordered and otherwise. She had 4 DUIs. She was incarcerated twice, one for 60 days, another for 65. She was under house arrest. I mean, there's a lot of things that went on. She had a plethora, many emergency stays for detoxification and one suicide attempt that I talked about at one point. But there was a whole lot going on. And the thing is, it was really all on my shoulders is what I'm getting at. It was my son and I. Her family lived about an hour away. Her parents did. And she had, a sibling and their family lived about an hour away as well. But they were never part of it. And I think she always had kind of a tentative relationship with them. And there was always a little bit of underlining friction. Her biggest fear was that they really had any inkling of what was really going on with her. And she took great lengths to make sure that they were not part of the knowledge of what she was going through. And I had to do sometimes, for like Thanksgiving, my son and I would have to, go to Thanksgiving with my in-laws, and she couldn't come because, maybe she was incarcerated or she was in a rehab. And of course, I, as the spouse, had to be the good spouse and just say, well, she's not feeling well or some other nonsense. It was all on my shoulders is what I'm getting at. I'm going to answer this question as we proceed. So the question goes like this. Did Amanda's parents ever support you with wanting her to get better? I've never heard you talk about them and how they dealt with her alcohol use disorder. It's because they weren't part of it. They weren't in any kind. They were well aware of her problem. I don't think they knew the extent of it. I mean, when she passed away and I told them that she'd been to 7 rehabs, I mean, their mouths just dropped. They were well aware that she had a problem. I mean, she showed up to their house inebriated more than once. They just didn't want to deal with it, and it was really on my shoulders. They were never somebody that I called up and, would talk about it. It wasn't somebody I could vent to, let me put it that way. So no, there was never really any emotional support or support of any kind. And I don't really mention them in the memoir. I'm going to talk about this real quick. Her memoir is called Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. I don't really discuss my in-laws a whole lot. I think I mentioned their names. But, they were not part of the equation until really the end when I told them what was going on. And that note, let's talk a little bit about the hereditary element that was part of Amanda's life. And I think it's important to discuss the hereditary element to a lot of alcoholics because ADH1B and ALDH2 on a chromosomal level gives someone a predisposition to becoming an alcoholic. It's not written in stone, but the thing is the high probability that those people who do have a genetic predisposition are also going to grow up in a family culture where drinking is normal. That was certainly the case with Amanda. I mean, they were all, when I first met them, they all drank wine. We'd get together with their parents and some other family members, and they would drink wine. I mean, it's just what they did. They all walked in with a bottle or 2 of wine, and they drank them with dinner. And it was just like, okay. I was never comfortable with it, but it was what she grew up with. I didn't understand it. It just wasn't something that I partook, and it really had nothing to do with me. So that was, Amanda definitely did have a hereditary issue because her grandmother passed away from it at, I think, 84. She lived a much longer life than the regular alcoholic, but her grandmother was an unbelievable alcoholic, her father's mother. And her father also, when they were younger, he definitely had an issue with drinking, and I think it influenced her. She had a sibling that also struggled with it, and that's all I'm going to say about that, but it definitely ran in the family, and it was a family problem. It was definitely a curse in that family, and there's no question. It's important to talk about this particular subject because it does run in families. It just does. And it's important to recognize that. And the whole point of this video is if you recognize that it runs in your family and you do have maybe a predisposition genetically, you have a genetic code on a chromosomal level that you might become an alcoholic, you need to double down on your sobriety. I mean, you have to make life choices from teenage years to make sure you don't go down that road and and fall into this cultural trap of, oh, it's just a couple drinks here or there. That can definitely develop into something else. With that in mind, the grandchildren of her parents, she had a sister, they had two daughters. They don't drink because they're very aware of both their mother and their aunt, Amanda. Okay, they don't drink. They don't have a problem because they're very aware of it. On that same note, my son doesn't drink at all. So he's very aware of it. His mother died when he was 19. He was between the ages of 13 and 19. Those last 6 years of Amanda's life were definitely the worst period of her life, and she succumbed when he was 19 in 2020. So he doesn't want to have anything to do with alcohol. It's important, and that's really the whole point of this is, if you have family culture, you need to double down on your sobriety because you don't want to go down this road. And again, real quick, I have a complete coaching program that's designed to help the alcoholic and the family. Set up a breakthrough call, takes about 45 minutes. We're going to do a deep dive into what's going on with you and your family, hereditary issue, family culture. We're going to figure out why you are where you're at. And we're going to get you there. We're going to reinvent you and get you a new life and a new path and a blueprint for your future. Set up a call. Call's free. The course is definitely not, but I'm looking for people who want to change their life and the life of their family.